Dr. Seeram Rajesh also joins us. Seeram, thank you so much. Can we say Manipur is safe? As the status report has been filed in the court, and it goes on to say that 2,267 personnel have been deployed for farming. It also goes on to say that number of ATMs have been, or the branches, 218 government branches have been opened. Schools are open, barring 96. The money is being provided in the relief camps. Number of efforts have been taken. Can we say that the state is limping back to normalcy?
No, this is a forced peace. So you cannot actually live in a forced peace, because you cannot build a peaceful, permanent peace under the barrel of gun, because the firing is going on from both sides, and even the Kuki INP have already declared war against the Meitei. Again, the Kokomi have already declared against the war against the narco terrorism and other. So even this opening of the school, and these are like they are trying to normalize this violence without actually resorting bringing peace, in fact. So this cannot be accepted by both sides, either Kuki or Mitai, because both the armed groups are actually attacking each other. And unfortunately, like even in Manipur, as you know that, even the valley is like a stadium. So it is surrounded by the hills, and still many of the foothills areas, the firing from the Kuki militants are also continuing, and at the same time there is also attack and the counter attacks are happening from both sides. So we have to accept the fact that this is not a peace, and the peace cannot be bring in such manner. And of course, if you ask to the Kuki, or even in the Meitei, is like, will you go to the More without protecting by the security forces? Yes, all the Meiteis and even the Kukis in the relief camps, they are still saying that they wanted to go back to their own house, provided that they are being secure in their life. So the question remains is, who will secure the life of the community? That is very important. Another thing is that, like, Manipur is like a mini India, and it's a multicultural society, and you have 34 communities, recognized communities, and then again another 4 5 tribes are still wanting to be part of the recognized tribes, and there you have 34 communities living together, coexisting, sharing their resources, living together from many years. And as then Kuki and even Naga and the Meitei are the three component part of Manipur. But unfortunately, some vested group and the armed group, they actually wanted to exploit the situation. And of course, as you all know that the 3rd May incident, the violence was happened not in Imphal. It was happened in the Torbung, Bangla, Kangbai, and then Chorchanpur, and it's also happened in More and the Iko in Kangpokpi, where Kukis are dominated and the Meiteis are minority. And the Kuki mob, unfortunately, supported by the armed group, Kuki militant, have exploited the situation, and they have started attacking Meitei villages, and then driven out, and then that violence actually spread to Imphal. So this is how it's happening. But still, if you also ask that there are many Kuki villages, Kuki villages are there still in Imphal. They are being protected, and they should be also protected. Many of the Kuki church are also not touched, and it is not that no Kukis are there in Imphal. They are still protected. They are there. They are protected by the security forces. Of course, there may not be Meitei in Chochampur. There is no any Meitei is completely driven out from More. So it is also another deliberate ploy from the armed group to actually to create this violence, so that they have a proper demand for Kuki land and other. But unfortunately, both the innocent of both the Kukis and Meiteis are affected. Of course, the right now what needs to be done is that, as we have already said, that the government of India should actually take action against the Kuki militant and against the Meitei
Okay,
army.
but
I'm actually,
you know,
I'm very clear. I'm
Okay.
very clear
I know
on
you
this
have been
part.
saying this. I know you have been reiterating
Yeah.
this point. But Mr. Suhas, there is also one thing. There is a political stalemate. These political parties, Congress Party, left parties, they signed a 10-party statement. They released it on Saturday. They're saying that the Biren Singh should go. The larger issue is Biren Singh or not Biren Singh. Two communities need to speak each other, even the communities, including Naga, needs to come together. Right now, the issue is after 65 days, how do you get them back to sit on the table? India has seen a lot of insurgencies. Let's have a long view of it. India has seen Mizoram, the Naga issue, the Kashmir issue, the left wing extremism. The resolve of the Indian state has never been broken. It has dealt with it.
I think the
Suhasji, are we
political,
losing the long term, a long vision that there is something called resolve of the Indian state?
that's
It
what I
is
was
as
saying
strong
in
as
the
iron.
I was saying in the beginning that the state of India does not exist as far as Manipur is concerned. And of course, the political parties will continue to press for
So I
certain
as an anchor, I would say the state of India exists. Maybe the politicians are not doing their job. I would distinguish that, sir. It's
No,
like
I think, see, at the end of the day, the responsibility for ensuring safety, security, and liberty of each citizen is a responsibility of the government of India and the state
the
government of
state
Manipur.
government
And
first, sir. State government. It's a federal structure.
no, please, the central government had declared Article 355 of the Constitution on 6th May. The center is in a legal position to assist Biren Singh government at this point of time. I think where the problem arises, of course, because at the end of the day, the biggest problem is the absence of any accountability. Now,
Correct.
65 days into the riots, then obviously you have to have some accountability. Accountability for the political leadership,
Correct.
accountability for, non-enforcement of the ceasefire agreements with the Kuki insurgent groups, losing of 4,000 arms and 5 lakhs ammunitions, where you have armed civilians. So there has to be some accountability. I think where we fail at this point of time to recognize the fact that it is no longer only the insurgent groups. I think a mob or people who are not under anybody's leadership are resorting to violence from both communities. So it's not so there is no leadership per se where you could control in terms of the civilians or the armed groups getting involved into it. The second issue is that all these three issues which I have mentioned, ceasefire agreements from 2008. If people have fled from the camps, it was the responsibility of the ceasefire monitoring committee and the Ministry of Home Affairs to enforce that everybody stays within the camp. That was not done. Now, I do not believe that you can lose 4,000 arms, sophisticated arms, AK-47, insert rifles, grenade launchers, etc., and nobody is held into account. So, in fact, the last meeting when took place, I think last week, between the director of the Intelligence Bureau and the Kuki group, the director of the IB said, well, there shall be accountability for each and every violence. Now, have we seen any accountability? Not at all. I think people who have deposited the arms in their, goodwill, they themselves have not recorded that they have taken away or looted the arms. Looting of arms from the security forces is such a grave criminal offense in this country. You tell me who has been arrested. So the responsibility at the end of the day will have to stop with Biren Singh because he is in charge of the state. He is the chief minister. So people will continue to ask him that if you are not able to, not only the political party, each and every citizen, in fact, the home minister himself or the prime minister should be asking, are you not responsible? If you are not responsible, maybe there's a need for, if I'm the central government, or if we have imposed Article 355 of the Constitution about 62 days back, and now it's not working, is it not the next course that we should take certain measures? And what you have in the process is absolute silence. So we have basically led, unfortunately, the civilians who have taken arms, the mob, to control in certain pockets, and one spark, in one particular corner by people who are not either under the leadership of the insurgent groups from both sides or anybody else, it can spark of the violence. So how do you do that? You start the process, as I said, by establishing the accountability. So accountability has to be with the political leadership, with the security forces, and those who are resorting to violence. And if you have the situation today that, the policemen and the CRPF are being seen as partisan because the policemen in Deepening policemen are not accepted or trusted in the hills, and they cannot go and serve there. And of course, there is a strong opposition to the central, CRPF and Assam Rifles, etc., in the valley. So you have a situation where even the security forces find themselves completely divided. If you ask me, of course, Assam Rifles, why should they be taking position? But you have created such a narrative in the last 60 days that everybody is seen partisan. So the chief minister, if he is being accused of partisanship, obviously there is a point. So we have to start afresh. And if we do not start afresh, this small violence will continue to take place and nobody will be safe. Whether Supreme Court intervenes, whether Prime Minister speaks or not, the Manipuris will continue to face this violence. So it's unfortunate. And now, when the final point, who will take the initiative?
Mr. Swast, you have used a very important word, accountability, and these incidents of small violence. I think that's a very important aspect, because the incidents of small violence will shatter the feeling of peace and tranquility, because then it makes everything unstable. Dr. Tara, do you agree with what Mr. Suhas said?
Yes, I fully agree with him, because if no one is going to take accountability for what is happening in Manipur, then where does the responsibility lies, right? So somebody will have to take, so especially the state government, will have to take account of what is happening and take responsibility and admit that yes, the state machinery has failed. That's why the problem is still happening. If shooting continues every day, that means that nothing is normal. So I fully agree with him that normalcy has not returned, and no one has taken accountability for what is happening in Manipur.
Mr. Dongal, when we talk about accountability, it's about getting to these men and women who perpetrated violence. If we look at the data, so many people have died, people have disappeared, and so many people have been injured. Accountability has not been fixed.
Right. Kartiki, before I come to answering your question, please allow me briefly to answer Dr. Rogers' allegations, because I don't know why is he still blaming the Kuki militants even now, even today. It's already been 65 days, and he definitely knows that he, being a journalist, social activist, knows that violence were perpetrated by by the valley-based miscreants in the first place, and how looting of arms, state armory, and also how the state police commandos have aided the mobs in Imphal and attacked and thrown away all the cookies in the valley, and also how he said how everybody in More has been chased away. You see the case of Kwata is still lying in More, and it's peaceful. This Kwata is a Meitei village surrounded by 6 Kuki villages, and they have not done anything to this village. In fact, there is a consensus between these two. There's a peace, going on between these two communities. So stop pointing fingers. In fact, we have seen how one of our panelists have also rightly pointed out that bigger crimes are evident. Bigger crimes are evident. So this kind of blame game, this kind of allegations have already led to many volunteers volunteering, civil students, teachers volunteering, getting trained, taking up arms to defend their land. So this is very unfortunate. Okay, coming back to your questions regarding accountability. Accountability definitely has to come from everybody, every community, not just the state government or the central government. It should be from everybody. And now when I say everybody, I'm talking about the two warring parties, especially the Kukis and the Meiteis. Of course, it has to be initiated from the central government. Now, accountability, if you have seen how the state government has responded to the violence, and how, despite a lot of proofs on record that the chief minister has failed, and also that he's part of, one among the perpetrators. In fact, he's the chief perpetrator, if I must say, that yet no action has been taken from the central government. So accountability, first of all, fails from the central government. And then we have seen how accountability at the state level also, how despite chief minister being the holding powers in his hand, He's not been able to douse of the fire. Why? I mean, God knows. And then accountability from the civilians, the two warring communities. How, when intellectuals like you and me keep telling lies and
I'm not lying, please, Mr. Dongle, intellectuals like you and me, please.
I'm talking about my co-panelist, Dr. Rogers, all these things.
I have a request, I have no point, Mr. Dongle, I have no issue you saying your point of view. I really respect everyone here. But at least we can refrain from using the word liars here. Please. 65 days, if we continue, at least that should not happen between us. I'm saying I never stop you. Never ever I have stopped you, Mr. Dongle, ever. You say whatever you want to. But let's not call each other. These are different perceptions of the same thing. Let's respect that. You finish your point.
Yeah. Why I said, why that word came out, the word liar is because from the start of me appearing.
Mr. Dongle, you are an academician. You can say, I differ from him. He got it wrong. That 30,000 phrases in English. He just got it wrong.
I would have used that word. I would love to use that word. Had it been, we are into 2-3 days of the violence. It's been 65 days. Everybody is aware now. Any educated human being is aware of who is the perpetrators here. And we are still blaming, pointing fingers. That's why, I've used that word. I must take back, yeah? But then, definitely, I strongly differ from what he says. Because, like I said, accountability has to come from both. Accountability, even, representing the Kuki community as a research scholar on this platform, I am accountable. I cannot just tell anything that comes to my mind. Because we have also seen how the valley-based militants are also being, militants or otherwise the terrorists, are being sponsored. We have seen how one of the retired major, who was posted in
Mr.
Manipur,
Dongle, you haven't answered my question. I have noticed that you don't answer my question, Mr. Dongle. I am saying, how can we get people together? Today, I really want to know your opinion how to get people together. I've just put out the entire status report in front of you.
Okay. See, getting people together is easier said than done, because everybody is now tired of the violence. Everybody wants peace. At least let them. Everybody wants to return to their homes now. Now, how do we get people together? As we have seen, violence is still continuing unabated. There are violence, and just because you belong to one particular community, you are still targeted. So if that is the case, how are we going to negotiate or otherwise convince people to come together under one table? Now, the only way for me, as I would view, would be to the center to step in. The center must step in. They must take accountability of the problem that is prevailing in Manipur, because everything has failed. The center must kick in and then take stock of things, and then only I think.
Okay.
Once the center.
I think Mr. Dongle, Mr. Swasta wants to respond, and after. Okay, I'll come to you, Mr. Swas. Seeram, I think you have also raised your hand.
No, actually, no. We have to accept some of the very difficult facts. Of course, one Kuki may not agree that the Kuki militant are involving, or one Meitei may not involve. But as a Meitei, as a responsible person, I'm saying that the center should take action, whoever is involved. No Kuki will say against to take action against the Kuki militant. No Kuki intellectual are not saying, but I am Meitei as a saying that whoever involved in the 3rd May of the attacking on the Meitei villages should be booked. At the same time, whoever involved in Infal on the 4th May, whoever involved of attacking the Kuki should also be punished. Okay? Because something has happened. But it cannot be, goodwill for all the people who have involved in the violence. That is the point I'm trying to say. But unfortunately, the government of India is actually completely delegitimizing the state government, even the BJP government, and all the recommendations have been completely rejected by the central government. This is the most unfortunate thing. Number one, the government of Manipur have taken a cabinet decision that the Sioux militants, some of the leaders were from Burma, Myanmar. It was already fact that you should not talk with the Myanmar national who are leading some organization. I don't want to name those organizations. And the government of Manipur have taken a cabinet decision that this suspension operation should be cancelled. But central government have completely rejected, and center says that you don't need to involve, we don't need to involve state government, rather they will directly talk to the Kuki militants. So there are so far 3 talks, secret talks have been done. And interestingly, when this announcement of lifting of the this blockade, national highway, in the Hindu, it was said that the center has given assurance to the political demand of the Kukis. That is why we are lifting this economic blockade. Then it actually give a message to the Meitei community that there is a secret dealing with the government of India and the Kuki military. This is how the mistrust is happening. So government of India should stop dividing.
So Sriram, are you saying, so Sriram, you see, as an anchor I would say, Kukis are Indians, Maitis are Indians, Nagas are Indians. If they want to talk to anyone, the government of India, they can talk to anyone. So you are basically saying that it should happen in public domain. Basically,
No,
you are saying
yes.
that the conversation, as an academician, you are saying that the conversation should be part of public domain. यानी खुल के होना चाहिए, सबके सामने होना चाहिए.